Chitty Chatty Meg, you've asked me, would I rather come across a leopard or a lion on foot? I suppose it depends on the circumstances. Lions are very exciting animals to approach on foot. They're dynamic, they move around, they're bold, and so quite often, with the exception of Hosana and Shongile, lions stick around a lot longer than one leopard do. Generally, leopard that you get to on foot, before you know it, there's just this rosette flash through the bush, maybe a bit of a growl, flash of some teeth, and then they're off. Whereas Hosana and Shongile are something different. We get to spend time with them on foot, which is unique and very special. So I think it just depends on the circumstance, really. They're both pretty epic to do. Now, we wanted to see if we could show you some footprints, and he walked down into this depression yesterday to come and drink some water. Let me see if we can show you young Hosana's footprints, which are substantial at the moment. He's getting to become a sizable cat. This is where he was drinking. Hopefully I'm not going to get smashed by a crocodile. But there's no tracks. Leopards tend to drink with their paws next to them, and then they lean quite far forward. So their paws are actually here or underneath them. They lean far forward to drink water. With some Egyptian geese. I love the way they land with their feet out. It's epic. Making a big noise. Okay. Actually quite nicely colored geese. This particular area. They are noisy. Carry on and find some more footprints, or any footprints at least, of this particular young male leopard.
Oh dear, it seems as though Steph has disappeared off your screen. And the reason I'm having a little quiet chuckle is, of course, because Rebecca's directing this morning. And we had a moment a few weeks ago, it actually must have been forever ago now that I think about it, where Rebecca tried to say crash cut to me and cancel at the same time. And what came out was cransel. And I wasn't quite sure which one was the dominant force there, if there had been a crash cut or if it was cancelled. Steph's disappeared off your screen, we apologise. Twin Dams tends to be a little bit dodgy with signal every now and again. There are a whole load of cars following me, racing up to come across to this side of the lugger, and I don't know whether that means they know something I don't, or if they've just decided to follow us out of curiosity. That happens. And what we're doing, the lionesses chased the male, and they saw a male lying up on the other side of the lugger. This is Jamie, the Lions and the Lugger, the sequel. There's going to be a series of installments. So he's over there somewhere lying down. I'm hoping that means the lionesses... Oh, that's a car. It's a car, not a lion. I'm hoping that it means that the lionesses will come back to check on their cubs. What it means for Rebecca is that I'm going to have to drive through that dodgy signal patch again, just so that you know, just to give her a little bit of a heads up. The patience game is what we're playing this morning, and patience out here is often rewarded. Sometimes it's not though, which is always quite sad. I just want to see that little cub again. I want to see it in the daylight. I want to see that it's okay and fine and well. It was seriously squawking its little lungs off when we saw it last night, or 2 nights ago. Okay, fingers crossed for little baby lions, but there's something almost as cute, and that is a little baby elephant.
We are going to a little ellie. We just have to get out of the way of these people who are now not going to go past us. Okay, let me move back up onto the road, because poor old Craig can't level the camera where it is now. Oh, he is going to go past us. Hello. Yes, wonderful. All right, let me just go up a bit here. Beautiful elephant sighting. I think let's just stick with these two, mum and baby here on our left-hand side. Tiny little thing. Well, probably about 14 to 16 months old. And mum being very protective. I must say, very confiding herd. Some of the herds here tend to be a little bit nervous of people and vehicles, but this one seems to be absolutely fine. And they've walked right past us a few times. And again, the only thing you can hear is the odd lark way in the distance kind of thing, and then just the rustling of the grass and the perpetual breeze that never really seems to stop here. He's taken a slight shining to Batman. She's just noticed he's on the back of the car, so she's going to come towards us, show us her shiny tooth. Nix, you want to know how you tell the age of an elephant? What you do, Nix, is you count the wrinkles on the trunk. They get 1.78 wrinkles per year that they're alive. I'm obviously talking rubbish. Nix, it's basically just done through... Sorry, I just don't want to move the car while she's this close, because it'll give her a fright. So that's why the pole was in the way there. Nix, it's just through experience. And look, you can... When they're this age, it's quite easy. When they're little, you know that they are under a year. If they can fit underneath their mother's bellies. We can go back across to this way now. And then once they get beyond that, it becomes quite a lot of guesswork. And it's just purely experience. And being in the bush, especially with somebody who knows what they're talking about. So I learned basically how to do it from a tracker that I used to work with. The very first tracker that I ever had, and he just taught me basically, and over the course of a few years I began to have an idea as to how old they are. I think, to be brutally honest about our skills, we get it wrong quite a lot. I've no idea exactly how to age them, and they do, quite unlike many other animals out here, they do show quite a lot of size variation and with age, and so a 60-year-old elephant is not always the same size as another 60-year-old elephant, so sometimes I'm sure we get it wrong. There they are, wandering off across the plains. And the other thing to say about that, of course, is that it's not only the size. Of course, they do keep growing almost until the day they die, but it's also the condition of the skin and how fat they are, how well conditioned they are. But that can also have to do with what they've been eating, drought conditions, etc., etc. So it's not always easy to tell the ages of elephants. Next. It is just tremendously peaceful. Sitting watching elephants in a landscape like this. They almost look like they're about to take off and fly off into the horizon there, don't they? The grass waving them goodbye. I'm going to sneeze, I warn you. Excuse me. I hope you managed to turn your devices down. Whew. I suppose I could have muted myself. That would have made it much less unpleasant for everybody. Spork, you're wondering about the distance that these elephants travel in relation to ones that perhaps, say, at Djuma. Well, I don't know that they travel further necessarily. I think you'll probably find that they do. Remember, the Sabi sand, well, I mean, when we say Djuma is, it's 1,200 hectares. So we're operating on a piece of land that is 1% the size of the Masai Mara. So let's take the Sabi sands in its entirety, and in fact, let's take the Greater Kruger National Park in its entirety, and then suddenly we have a landscape that is of comparable size to the Mara Serengeti ecosystem. You will find that in the Sabi sand, because it's a private reserve and all of the landowners are experts in ecology, they are all pumping water for animals in order to maximize the amount of game that they have for their tourists to look at or for them to look at. And so you have a situation where the elephants do not have to go very far in order to drink water. Remember, that's their kind of limiting nutrient, if you like. And so in a place like the Sabi Sands, no, I don't think they do move as far. But remember, they don't always stay in the Sabi Sands. They will often move away when food doesn't get so good. And during marula season, for example, they will go to areas where there are good marulas. And I know round about this time of year, as the grasses start to grow and the first rains come, you'll find the elephants will move out of the area and up towards Satara, which is, shall we say, about 100 kilometers to the north of where Djuma is. And so they do move big distances, but seasonal movements, yes, probably about as large as they are here, but within season movements, I'd say much smaller than they are here, because these guys have got to go down to the river if they want to drink. And at this point where they are now, they are at least, say 2 or 3 miles from the river, and so that means they must still move quite big distances every single day to go and drink, because they have to drink every day. All right, let's go back to Djuma now. Steph has not got an elephant. He has got a piece of grass, but that piece of grass has passed through an elephant.
We definitely do have some elephant dung. In a nice size comparison, we've found an area where a mom and a baby elephant have spent a day feeding, or at least a portion of a day feeding, and have left this field of dung lying around. That's what you've been having a look at over there now. Nice shot, actually. And here we've got mom. That's a pretty typical bolus size for a female elephant, and her very young calf. Just to give you an idea of the size difference there. Have a look at that. That's obviously the cross-section through the digestive tract of an elephant. They deposit these boluses all over the place, and as you can see, are made up almost entirely of the plant material untouched that was digested. But what you will find over here is the fact that the female elephant has got a lot more of these big sticks in it, and that's because this baby is eating just the best, softer stuff and still augmenting his diet with milk. So you can see the baby's chewed up this a lot finer, and that's because he's not strong enough to eat and chew the bigger sticks, because he's still having a diet of milk. Isn't that cool? So no big sticks, whereas mom has got lots of sticks. Watch here. Piece of root and a branch. Another one. Look at this. That branch there that she's managed to chew. Imagine that coming out of that baby elephant. Not going to be fun, that's for sure. With no sticks, just very fine grass. Awesome. That's very nice. We're finding so much damage here from these elephants. Not damage in a way, it's just signs of their feeding. It's a very popular place for elephant to come. Oh, look, a porcupine bush. It's not very common to find around this particular area. Named so because of the long, like porcupine-esque branches that it has. Quite a hardy little bush, but like I say, you don't find them everywhere. Quite a nice one as well. Porcupine bush. So a lot of this area is just elephant pathways upon elephant pathways crisscrossing through this place. You can see how they've knocked down the trees. This is a knobthorn that's been knocked over by an elephant. 2 in actual fact. OD farming, you'd like to know if elephant dung smells. It can smell. They have at certain times of the year, quite a high fruit content in their diet, particularly around marula season. And the marulas are fermenting on the floor, then they ferment in the tummy, then they come out, in some cases, untouched. And then elephant dung can pong quite a lot. But generally speaking, no, it just smells like, wood and grass together. They have a particular smell when you burn them. I think the mix of their diet in this area gives elephant dung a particularly pungent smell or diagnostic smell. Now, Roshni, you'd like to know at what age does the elephant diet change? Roshni, they'd go over to a... well, it changes all the time, basically. So elephant go from eating woody species of plants this time of the year, about 80% of their diet, to eating almost entirely grass in summertime. They'll eat very, very little with a few leaves and twigs, about 80% grass in the summertime. So it changes throughout the year. It'll change throughout the season. They'll favor certain things. They've really got an amazing diet. Elephant will eat whatever's available and gives the most nutrition at that particular time of the year, and really make a good go at it. They will spend hours eating, and they're big as well. So now, sweet history, you want to know what's the hardest thing I've ever found in dung? Probably the nut of a marula, or the oddest thing that not the hardest, the oddest thing that I found in dung. That's a good question. Let me think about that. It's almost entirely going to be hyena. Hyena they're like tiger sharks. They have the most unbelievable varied diet. And I think I've found a tin can once in a piece of hyena dung, a piece of can. You often find bits and pieces of shoe and plastic and string, long pieces of string in hyena dung. Like I said, they're like tiger sharks, it's not porcupine quills. Porcupine quills. VM says he's found a porcupine quill in a piece of dung. Can you imagine? So just to answer the question on smell, no smell. So this one has been lying in the sun for a few days and has no particular smell. Burn it, slightly different case. They've got a very particular smell when burnt, but right now, not much. These ants are catching my attention. We've got some trapjaw ants here. Now, Lynn has asked, can you get sick touching dung and not washing your hands? You can, Lynn, from touching things like elephant dung. Look at this. This ant is now having a bit of a panic. That's a trap jaw ant. You can see by those jaws held wide open. Now, one of the fastest mechanical movements of all the ants is this jaw. They use it to stun termites, which is a favorite prey of theirs. They close at over 200 kilometers an hour. So they close They close at about 120 to 150 miles an hour. That's how fast they can close their jaws. And they use it to stun termites. But they can also shoot themselves away from prey. It's something like 300 times the weight. They close with 300 times the weight of the ant itself. And therefore can act as a propellant for the ant. He can close his jaws hard against something and flick himself away, including out of the pitfall traps of ant lions. You can see them. One of my most favorite of all the ants. Very highly evolved species of ant, this trapjaw ant. And what's interesting is their jaws open on a set of cams. So the left-hand jaw, or the left-hand mandible, is attached to the back right-hand side of the skull, and vice versa for the other mandible, and are cammed. So the ant puts a lot of effort into opening their jaws. Excuse me, a lot of effort into opening their jaws, but past a certain point, very similar to a compound bow, will become easy and then lock in place with very minimal effort required to actually keep them there. Let's see if we can get him to shoot himself off of this branch for you. So I'm gonna... no. Chris, you want to know how ants breathe? Chris, they've got a series of spiracles, which are basically pits on the side of their body, and gaseous exchange happens through the pits along an oxygen gradient. So they will pump. Their bodies are filled with a fluid called hemolymph. Hemolymph has dissolved oxygen in it. This will then circulate through the body, and when it gets to the spiracles, will give off carbon dioxide and replace it with oxygen. And so they don't have, they can't pump this fluid through their body. They don't have lungs, though, that work as bellows like ours do. So a bunch of spiracles and gaseous exchange. That's how ants breathe. Pretty awesome sighting of a trapjaw ant, I must be honest with you. Not made much easier by the stick that I have here. Let's put him back down again. Let him forage. It was pretty cool. I like trapjaw ants. Alright, let's carry on going down here. See what else we can find in this valley. Now we are coming to a drainage ditch, which means that we're probably going to be losing some signal if we decide to go down there, so I'm not going to go down there. You're going to have a look at this massive scotia tree, and just a proper giant growing on the side of this thing. We're ready to send you over to Scott, which will give me some time to cross through this drainage line and hopefully find some better signal on the other side. See you just now.
Well, it sounds like you've been having some interesting discussions with Steph. He's incredibly knowledgeable, and he was actually my mentor when I first started guiding back in 2008, I think. We both worked for the same company. He was a senior guide and I was a rookie. I remember the first morning we were actually going out with Steph in the Kruger Park. The company that we were working for had multiple lodges, one in the Sabi Sands, one in the Kruger Park. Anyway, the training crew went to the Kruger Park camp where Steph was based, and we were going to be having our first training with him. And the first morning we were supposed to meet at whatever time it was to go out on safari with Steph. All of us were late, so we got into huge trouble. I remember that clearly. Steph laying down the law. And it's quite interesting. He also actually got me involved with Safari Live. He heard I was back from Kenya and he knew Safari Live was looking for a job. This was before Steph even joined Safari Live. He was just helping them find guides. So yeah, he got me involved here, as well as helped train me in my early days. And certainly a great asset to have for Safari Live, as I'm sure a lot of you agree. Marvelous. Another interesting little bit of history regarding our crew is that James used to be my rugby coach back at school, back in high school. My first year of high school.
There's only 30 of us in South Africa.
And like Ferg says, there's only 30 of us here in South Africa. We're a very small population, so we all know one another. So yeah, James was my rugby coach, the mighty under 14 Cs. Crazy. So I've decided to head away from the escarpment and see what we could find a little bit closer to the river. But rather than driving along the main river road, which is just adjacent to us, I've been trying to squirrel along these little two tracks in the hope that we may discover something that has not been discovered on the busier roads, which have a little bit more traffic, and therefore obviously, you know, people do find a lot of things there. But these are kind of the roads less traveled, where I'm hoping we might find some gold. Well, I'm sure a lot of you, especially those of you who have been joining the safari since we started here in the Mire, have noticed quite a drastic change of scenery, and it's becoming a lot drier at the moment. But you'll be glad to know Jamie has found a little green oasis. I'm not sure where, but why don't you go and see for yourselves?
I'm getting very close to Little Governors, if that's what you want to know, and it is indeed a green oasis because it's part of a river system that flows down from the mountains, and then once it sort of reaches this area, it's the drainage area, so it becomes very, very marshy. And if we have a look, sorry, I'm just trying to see exactly what everyone's looking at. I think they're just looking at the zebbies. Oh, and a baby Topi. I was going to say, if we have a look over there, which we have to go past to get back to the baby Topi, we can actually see where there's been a really serious flood at some point in this area's history. The river obviously, or the water obviously came flowing down from the mountains, and the reason that I think that, let's just get a little bit closer, is that this whole area is filled with skeletons, not of animals, but of trees. And my assumption, and I think it's probably correct given where we are, my assumption is that it's because this was the collection point whenever there was a flood. And it's going to be such an interesting experience for all of us during the rainy season. I would say that this area is going to become undrivable. I don't think it'll be possible for us to spend much time here, except from afar. But it really is going to be a giant learning curve for all of us. Hello, Topi and Zebra. There we go. We'll stop and have a look at them as they walk through the tree graveyard. Neen, yes, I have indeed seen a hartebeest baby. In fact, I'll even search for a Coke's hartebeest youngster. I mean, and Sabi are essentially hartebeest. They're closely related. We've seen quite a few baby Topis. There's one on the other side that I'll take you to have a look at in a moment. I just wanted to show you, this is the graveyard I was talking about, the tree graveyard, where at some point the river came rushing down. What was that about? Topi just did a funny little hop, skip and jump. So yes, we have seen babies. I actually saw the one morning coming back from, I think it was from one of our TV shows, where you start to hallucinate animals on the drive back up the hill to camp in sheer exhaustion. And I saw a little tiny baby Coke's hartebeest, also known as Congoni, out here. There you go. Topi and Zebra wandering through the tree graveyard. And Topi very, very cautiously moving down into the main part of the river system. Obviously it pays to be cautious because you don't know what's lurking down there. I just want to pop us across the other side so we can have a look at the baby Topi, which is almost as good as baby hartebeest. I want to see one of the Topis giving birth. Don't you think that would be amazing? You know how we followed the wildebeest last year and the year before, saw them give birth? What is wrong, Topi? What is the matter? What has got you so jumpy? Is it just the wind and the landscape? Okay. I think it's just nerves around water. I'm sad we didn't get to see the little lion cub because I'm going across the river now after this morning drive. So I think this will be my last opportunity for now. But if we ask Scott and James nicely, they'll come and check this den site. James, no, I would say that the Cokes and the hartebeest fill a very similar ecological niche. There are a great deal more Topi than there are hartebeest, but their diet is largely the same. They are roughly the same size. So I would say that they come very close to filling a very, very similar niche. They provide the same food for the same animals, smaller lion prides, lionesses on their own. Ah, the little baby's gone all the way away. I'll have to go and catch up with it. Lions come through here by any chance? The males probably did, actually. This is probably where they came from. Zebra contact calling. Everybody perking up their ears in response. Still lots of zebra around. The wildebeest might have left, but there are lots and lots of zebra around. What happened there? It poke itself on a stick. Hey, look at that one in the middle. Oh, it's turned to the wrong side now. It's such a cool pattern of spots on its back. The one that's on the far left now. Come, turn. Turn for us. Zebra love to use each other as scratching posts. Nice to see them being nice to each other for a change. And usually they're either kicking or biting. Unless you're seeing a mare and a foal. They just don't... For animals that live in herds, they don't seem to particularly like each other at times. And just like horses, those of you who are familiar with horses, often the ears back is a sign of irritation. Beautiful. Right, should we go catch up with that baby Topi? While we do that, let's go across to Scott, whose luck has changed for the morning.
Well, we have found gold. It's a lioness that is trying to creep up on a warthog. Now, it's still got quite a way to go to the warthog. We'll show you where it is in a few moments, but let's just enjoy these views of her as she slinks through the grass. Beautiful. She's looking quite full-bellied to me, but obviously she doesn't want to forego this opportunity. We spotted her from a distance. We're not sure if there are any other lions, and I think it is just her. Okay, let's have a quick look at the warthog. So she still has to cross the road. Hello everyone. And there's the warthog over there. A little bit to the right there. Perfect. Hello everyone who has just joined us on Facebook. You can see there's a warthog. Morning. Hello you. Over there. And my name's Scott. It's great to have you with us. And then just over here, about 100 meters away, there is a hungry lioness who's trying to get herself some bacon for breakfast. Now, the warthog's unaware of her presence. Having said, now let's stay on the lioness and see what she does, and I'll keep an eye on the warthog. I'm not sure if it's just running off because it's a bit nervous. It's quite windy. Shame, God, it looks like this warthog is heading off into the distance, but she may keep following it. Let's have a quick look at the warthog, Ferg, just to show everyone how far away it is. It's directly at probably our 3 o'clock between us and those elephants. It may pop out. Just to the right of the elephants now, there's a termite mound. Just to the right of that termite mound is where the warthog... There we go, well done. So it's a long way off now. I'm not sure if it's spotted or if it just got a bit of a funny feeling. Either way, this poor lioness is going to have to work a little bit harder for her breakfast this morning. There, she's crossed the road now, so she's still pursuing it. I don't think she knows how far it has actually moved. We have the benefits that we're a little bit elevated. She's a lot lower to the ground, so she probably, I'm guessing, isn't exactly sure how far away it is. Beautiful, beautiful scenes. We are coming to you guys live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, one of Africa's greatest safari playgrounds, and it's been a beautiful morning here. It's about 8:40 a.m. and it's It's been a fairly quiet morning up until bumping into this lady. At least that's from our vehicle. James and Jamie are also out. Oh, look at how cool this is. She's creeping up onto the termite mound. You can see she's just kind of flattened herself a little bit just to get better elevation to work out where this warthog has gone. I've lost track of where it has gone, but it's certainly a long way off from her at the moment. There's not too much other possible prey for her, although, having said that, there are some impala just in front of those elephant ferg, but they are perched up on a termite mound looking directly in her direction, so I'm guessing they may have already spotted her. So there you can just see the impala in front of those elephants. She's heading towards them, but like I say, she's got her work cut out for her because they are already very, very focused in on her. Marvelous. Well, I think we are going to reposition now and get in front of this lioness and keep following her and see what she gets up to. There is a little road that I'm going to use that can take us around there. It's actually the same road we spotted her from. So we'll go across there rather than off-roading unnecessarily. I'm quite surprised she's still on the move, but I mean that is the reality of these safaris, is you just can't predict what the animals are going to do and when. She looks quite full-bellied, and it's not like that warthog was close to her. She's made a concerted effort to go towards it. Okay, here is the road. Hello Francis in Israel, good to have you with us. You'd like to know if she would be capable of taking down a large warthog all on her own. Yes, she certainly would. That warthog wasn't the biggest, but yes, even the biggest of warthogs would be a fair match for a lioness. Dangerous, because they've got very sharp tusks that protrude out their bottom jaw that occlude against those top round tusks that you see quite easily. But the problem ones are the razor sharp ones below that, so that they could get sliced up, and there certainly have been numbers of leopard and lion that do get, and cheetah I'm sure, that get sliced up by the old warthogs from time to time. Okay, where has she gone? Oh, there goes the warthog. Let's work out where she is. So the warthog would be looking back in her direction if she if the warthog was in fact aware of her presence. Possibly just this windy weather that's making it a little bit nervous. The lioness was just somewhere that disappeared into the long grass, so it is still on the move. It's heading straight towards some impala. Let's move forward a little bit, see if we can't get any better. Oh, well done, there you go. How awesome is this with her moving through the long golden grass? Wonderful. She's still intent on this warthog, it seems. I think she's just kind of moving in this direction towards the impala through default in order to try and stalk the warthog. I've lost track of the warthog now. Last headed off So,
Down in that lager.
okay, it may have dropped down into a little riverbed. Let's get into another spot here. Hello Riti, good to have you with us again. You would like to know if there's any chance that these elephants would chase off the lions to assist other animals that are being hunted by them. And I guess kind of through default they may. Elephants don't like lions and will chase them, but I don't think they'll actively go and try and rescue another animal from a lion. It would be more that they feel concerned and then just chase it off. But strange things do happen out here. I've personally never seen elephants assisting in any way, but I have certainly seen them chasing lions. Which we may see now. These elephants aren't too far away. The wind is in the lion's favor though. Often elephants detect lions by their smell. Hello to Shamsun. You'd like to know if this lioness is a lone ranger or if she's part of a pride. This area that we're in, we've seen quite a lot of interesting lion behavior and dynamics. We aren't certain who exactly is with who in this area, to be honest, but there are quite a few lioness that we have spent time with in this general area. It could be the Mugoro pride, but they do split up and fragment quite a lot, which makes working out who's who and who belongs to which pride quite difficult. So I don't think she's alone now. I think she is part of a pride, but she's just having some alone time today. Okay, so she's just using this time now to stop and scan around, look for any other possible prey. There's not a huge amount of game in this general area at the moment. There was a lot more here the last time I was here a few weeks ago. So she's got her work cut out, and maybe that's why she's on the hunt in the mid-morning, making the most of whatever opportunities present themselves to her. Beautiful. Let's take a little squiz at the... Oh, shame, she is covered in flies. Jeez, and I thought we had it tough sometimes on the vehicle. She has got it to the next level there. Oh, I'm glad I'm not her. I guess, I mean, my face is fairly furry, but not as furry as hers, so she at least does have a bit of a furry cover. Ooh. Ooh, this is interesting. Why are you trotting off so quickly? Have you... She's seen some waterbuck, I think. How cool is this scene? Ah, magic. Lion trotting off towards some waterbuck moving through the long grass. They're a long way ahead of her. I'm guessing that's what she's seen. It could be the warthog that she's spotted. Have you seen the waterbuck yet, Ferg? They're kind of at 3 o'clock, maybe 200 meters off. Hello everyone on Facebook who has just joined us. You can see some antelope called waterbuck moving through the long grass there, and they are not the only animal moving through the long grass. There is a single lioness that is trying to pursue them. Ferg, she's kind of at maybe 1 or 2, tricky, just to, yeah, you're in the right spot there. So she's still a bit of a way off. She was trying to hunt a warthog earlier, and she's got perfect conditions to stalk up on these waterbuck. Obviously not perfect conditions for us to show her to you. Oh, there she is. So, like I said, she did have a kind of a slight attempt of trying to catch a warthog, but the warthog ran off before she could even chase it. And then she was just perched up on a termite mound, scanning the area when those waterbuck came onto the scene. Now, sorry Ferg, we're going to need to reposition. My name's Scott. It's a great pleasure to welcome you on board. We are coming to you live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, and it is a beautiful sunny day here. It's approaching 9 a.m. in the morning, and we were pleasantly surprised when we bumped into this lady. It had been a bit of a quiet morning. Hello, Sweet Collins, watching in Denver. It's a beautiful place, Denver. I have spent a little bit of time there on my way through to Aspen to work a ski season, so I hope all is well. And what a lovely part of the world you live in. Okay, the waterbuck, we're not going to zoom in, but they're directly in front of the vehicle now, about 100 meters off. There's just two of them, but there only really needs to be one. One would be more enough for this one lady. Rita, you'd like to know if this lioness is alone, and yes, she is. She is all on her lonesome as far as we can tell. We've followed her for about a quarter of a mile so far, and there's been no sign of any other lions. It's not to say she isn't a member of a pride. It just means she's possibly split up for whatever reason. They do split up from time to time. They're not always together. Where has she gone? No, she didn't make the best move, to be honest, because she should have tried to get in front of them, not behind them. But maybe she knows something we don't know, or maybe she did in fact spot that warthog that she was intent on hunting earlier. Beautiful herd of elephants just off to our right here. Kayleen, good question. You'd like to know if she has cubs, and that's possibly why she would be alone. When lioness do have cubs, they will remove themselves from the pride for a short period of time so that they can raise their cubs to a point that they're big enough and old enough to be reintroduced to the other members of the pride. So maybe that is a reason. I didn't notice that she was lactating, but she could have been. Let's just stop here. We're going to get some magical views of her wading through this long grass. She's just off in here somewhere. Where has she disappeared to? Have you got her there, Ferg? Well done. Oof, I am glad I am not a prey animal in this long grass that she's sneaking up on. Look at how beautiful. Faris, good to have you with us. We are in Kenya, on the eastern side of the African continent, just south of the equator, in a beautiful wilderness called the Masai Mara, which is part of a huge ecosystem, the Serengeti Mara ecosystem, which is home to the great wildebeest migration. At the moment, the wildebeest have migrated south from Kenya towards Tanzania. There's still a few herds in the general area, but none where we are here now. So this lady doesn't have as much food as she had about a month or two ago, when there were hundreds of wildebeest in this, and thousands of wildebeest in this general area. Shoo! This is, like I say, wonderful prospects. Look at her creeping up, flattening her ears as she gets up onto a bit of a vantage point to look for any more prey. Doesn't seem like there's anything immediately around her, but there's all those thickets beyond her, those same thickets that the waterbuck came charging out of. So there is a chance that some more prey will come from those thickets heading towards the river for an evening drink. well, not an evening drink, a midday drink in the Mara River. Maybe I had too many evening drinks last night, hence my comment. Okay, what are you going to do next? Hello, proud cat mama. You would like to know if there's any hierarchy amongst ladies within the prides of lion. And yes, there certainly will be. Usually the older, more experienced females will be the ones that make the calls as to where to go and what to do. And in general, hierarchy in nature is established by power and strength. So not so much brain power and wisdom like us humans. Brute strength often is the number one factor that allows one animal to be more dominant over the other. And a good example of how, these dominance and strength will come into play would be at feeding time when there's a kill. The biggest and strongest lions will get to have the best snack. Now you can see there's a herd of elephants approaching. Let's take a closer look at the one. It's got a very, very interesting tusk. Look at that. Oh, Ryan, well, you said you would like us to have a look at the elephants, so there we go. Your wish is our command. And like I said, this lady has got quite interesting dentition. Her tusks grow outwards as opposed to the one that she's just walked past. That's more typical tusk shape. But just like us as humans, sometimes our teeth are a funny shape, just like hers. Wonderful. She's very distinctive, so I'm almost certain I've never seen her, and that's no surprise. Elephants are not territorial, so they wander huge distances in search of food. So it's difficult for us to get to know them as well as we may get to know the other animals. So the lioness is still just kind of perched up on the mound, waiting to see what opportunities present themselves to her. I did see an impala somewhere behind her in the distance a little bit earlier, but I haven't seen it for a while now, so I'm not sure where that's gone, but anything could pop out of these bushes at any moment, and she is certainly very, very focused on getting a meal. Even though her belly does look fairly well fed. Hello, Ellen. You would like to know if I think this lioness is out of her territory or possibly been away mating. Both are possibilities, but I don't have enough knowledge of the lions in this general area to be able to make a calculated or even worthwhile answer to that. She could have been doing just about anything. She could have cubs at the moment. I wouldn't be able to, like I say, give you any insight that would make any sense. And I guess that's not always the case, but often the case in this ecosystem with the lions. It's a huge area we get to explore, very, very different to the Sabi Sands, where we have a very small area. So we get to know the animals there, well, we have got to know them there a lot better than we've got to know these individuals. And I mean, there's a couple of reasons. The main one being that it's a small area, so we're limited to a few animals. Here we've got access to a far greater area, 80 times the size of our traverse down south in South Africa, where Stefan is. And that, coupled with the fact that the lions here act quite differently to lions in general, in that the lionesses tend to fragment and split from their prides quite often, makes it very difficult for anyone to keep track of who is who. Okay, well, to everyone who joined us on Facebook, it's been a great pleasure. You can just possibly some dinosaur-like noises in the background there. That's the elephants having a discussion. Like I said, this lioness doesn't have too much on the cards now regarding a meal, but if she does get on the hunt again, we will be sure to call you back here to Kenya. See you next time. Okay, sorry everyone, I just had to keep quiet there for a while after we said goodbye to the Facebook folk. So now we are back to business as normal, and I'm wondering what this lady's plans are. I'm hoping she decides to keep us busy the whole morning. It's certainly looking that way. I mean, if she just could find something to sneak up on, she would sneak up on it. There's just not many options for her. Okay, well, we're going to stick with her, see what she gets up to, and you guys are going to be going back down south to South Africa to join Mr. Winterboer and a tree.
Now, for those of you who have ever read the book The Magic Faraway Tree, that tree that you were just looking at over there, for me, sort of defines what that is, the magic faraway tree with, you know, a world in its branches, basically. And just have a look at how wonderful that tree is sculpted. Not only that, it sits in a very young grove of Tambutis. Now, Tambuti thicket is this forest type that you're seeing in front of us. Now, all these thin sticks that are all together and grouped together, that is a Tambuti thicket. And Tambuti thicket forest is one of the rarest forest types that we find in South Africa, certainly in the Kruger National Park. And so to see a young, healthy thicket like this is very nice, especially guarded over by this old man jackalberry that we've got here. It's lovely. You're walking on quite a defined game path here. We're about as far away from a road as what you can get in Djuma right now. This is the center of a block on the Mulwati drainage line, and we've got roads around us, obviously, but they are... we can walk in the block. We've been walking in the bush now for a good 15-20 minutes, and we're going to walk out a good 15 or 20 minutes before we hit another road. So it's just, I always like spaces like this because, you know, you don't come here often. You definitely don't come here in a vehicle often, and because of that, they have this sort of exclusive feel to them, which is quite nice. It's a magical feeling. Just going to have a look at this Tambuti thicket, get a bit closer into the grove itself. Like a hippo has been spraying his dung here. Mrs. Vero, I'll answer your question now on pine trees once we've had a look at this hippo spray here. So hippo, being related to whales and manatees and dolphins, don't have any exocrine glands, so they don't have any glands on their skin to help to mark territory or to act as a signpost, as a sign of their passage. And so bull hippo in particular will spray bushes like this with their dung. And other hippo walking on this path will then come and inspect this and be able to smell it. And they can, I mean, who knows what animals can tell from chemical messages in dung. But, you know, is it Paul's dung, Peter's dung, Sally's dung? You don't really know. But they definitely have a story to tell. We just don't know what it is just yet. Exactly. Now, to answer the question about pine trees, We do have plantations of pines that have been, they're exotic and they're brought in for lumber and for mining struts and supports, paper production, matches, the whole works. But there is a few very limited cypress trees that grow in the Waterberg region, which is up on the escarpment, on the top of the escarpment, close to Johannesburg. There's 1 or 2 species of indigenous cypress. So those are the only pine trees that we get here. Pine trees are exclusive to Northern Hemisphere, I think, and also to a band of trees that circle the globe, but in the Northern Hemisphere. We don't really find many indigenous cypresses here, barring one in South Africa. All right, before it flies away, Jamie's got an interesting bird to show you.
I haven't got the interesting bird yet, but I am very, very excited because I can hear. I came looking for leopards in this tree line because this is where we saw the 3 of them not so long ago, and I can hear the black and white casqued hornbill calling. We've not yet managed to get a good sighting on camera. Taylor, oh whoops, I need to go that way. Taylor did manage to get it flying, and we've managed to get it flying away as well, but we haven't managed to actually get a good sighting of this bird in the entire time I've been in the Mara, sitting in a tree posing for us. And that's because, of course, they're forest hornbills and they like to hide away. But I'm desperately, because I know there are those of you out there that are really interested to see one, and I am too. We're gonna do this. Hear it. Always. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know why. We're right below Angama. I don't know why it is we keep disappearing off your screen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Watch now. I'll find the hornbill and our picture will disappear. And then I will cry. I will sob. No, that's not going to happen. Think positively. Okay, somewhere in the depths of these trees lies this hornbill, waiting for me, laughing at me. I'm going to be so sad if we can't find it. I've got myself all excited. It's massive and it's really beautiful. There is a real reason that I want to show it to you, apart from adding to your Mara bird list. Okay. If I see it flying away, I will be devastated. And it's screeching around the big fig. It's screeching somewhere around the big fig tree. Rebecca would like to know how I heard it from so far away. Well, first of all, it's quite loud. I don't have my bird call on me, my bird call device with me, but I'm also had to go around, so it's not that far away. It just so happens that I had to get to the other side. Standard. Okay, somewhere in this series of trees, that fig tree. Riti, my favorite bird in the Mara. Oh, it's a difficult one. Okay. Call again. Come on. Riti, my favorite bird in the Mara. I really love secretary birds, which we see more frequently here. Crowned cranes. Crowned eagles, long-crested eagles. Oh, listen. Oh no, it's gone to the other side, hasn't it? No. No. I can hear it on the other side. Come on. Be nice. There is something about me and this hornbill. It's becoming a pet peeve of mine. Is that not it? No, that not. I can hear it. So close and yet so far. Now the wind's starting to pick up as well, which makes it harder. Okay. We're going to go around. I think we are. Okay. Jamie and the lugger again. Around we go. I'm going to find this bird.
Welcome back, everyone. We were not quite ready for you. Obviously, you lost signal with Jamie. The Lioness we are still with spotted an impala. It disappeared somewhere in these thickets up ahead, but she's definitely very intent on getting herself breakfast this morning. So good prospects for her, not good prospects for us getting our breakfast, because if she does continue to stay honed in on trying to get a meal, we will not be leaving her. She's in such a good position here that if something does move into this general area, she's just got the most perfect surroundings to stalk in. Very, very long grass that she will melt into, and also quite windy conditions, so her approach will be muffled by the sound of the rustling grass and the wind, and that way she would be able to, in theory, have quite good chances of catching something. She just needs something to try and catch. It's a pity Jamie didn't manage to find that hornbill for you. It could have been a first for, I'm sure, a lot of you. There's a lot of birds that live in and around the forests that we haven't been able to show you yet, like the Narina trogon, those hornbills. But with a bit of luck and a bit of time and patience, we will eventually be able to show them to you. Now that she's perched up on the mound, you can see what I mean about her belly being quite full, which is surprising me that she's so intent on getting a meal. Sadly, we can't see her nipples very clearly, because if we could, then we'd be able to get some insights into whether she does in fact have any cubs at the moment. Hello to Nikki. You'd like to know how old I think this lioness could be, and I would put her at around 5 years of age. She looks like she's in great condition, not too old. So yeah, my guess would be somewhere around 5 years of age. When they start getting to about 8 or 9, they start looking a little bit old, but she is in beautiful condition. But I could be off by a couple of years either side of that. Very difficult to be certain of age unless you actually know for a fact when they were born. I guess, you know, if we take humans for an example, if I lined up 10 humans in a row, Nikki, you would battle to get all of their ages spot on, and that's our own species. Where are you going to go next? Where is some possible prey for you? I don't think there's anything out there. That's the direction we've kind of come from. She's looking back towards the Mara River, and she's well situated here because a lot of game will be moving towards the river for a midday drink, and she could possibly intercept them here. Let's hope she doesn't head into these thickets though, because if she does, we're not going to be able to follow her. It'll be simply too thick. But if she stays where she is and some prey comes towards her, we are in a wonderful spot. I wonder if she can't hear something in there. She's not going to be able to smell anything because the wind is blowing kind of from us towards her. So she's not going to smell any prey, but possibly she would be able to hear something. Good, well, as she disappears off the termite mound, we are going to be sending you across to James with another animal that is perched high up on top of one.
Yes, an animal perched high up on a termite mound at Topi. Remember we looked at the coax hartebeest? This one has put its pants on this morning. There you can see it standing upon its termite mound. Now, I will tell you that we have searched high and low for the cheetah that we saw yesterday. I have had no sign of him. And, well, I suppose confirming my diagnosis of his absence in this area, no massing of vehicles. I will tell you there is some massing of wildebeest at one of the crossings, but not one that we can access from the side of the river, so we've left it. Anyway, there was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh, yes, I have to agree with Scott. The wind is really starting to pound in from the northeast at the moment. Harley, you want to know what a Topi's main predator is? Well, given their size and speed, you'll find that lions and spotted hyenas will be their main predators, but mostly lions. They're too big for cheetah. I suppose those cheetah musketeers working in a team could probably take out a Topi if they could catch it. They are very fast, of course. And a little one would be taken by a leopard, I suppose. Wild dogs could take a Topi, maybe, if there were sufficient wild dogs here. But they're quite big and they are immensely fast. So it's just lions, basically, that can take them out, and often by surprise at night. You know, they'd have to stalk very close or through this grass and grab one. But difficult when one of them is standing lookout on a termite mound. They are fantastic looking creatures. And if you ever have cause to see these sort of southern African subspecies, the Sabi, it looks very similar, but they're even more richly coloured, much darker. You could see them in Botswana if you wanted to. If you wanted to go to Botswana and some parts of South Africa. There are two more in front of us there, standing on termite mounds. And interestingly, all of them facing the same way. They've got their backsides to the wind. So they're not sort of turned to the wind in order to try and smell predators or anything like that. They've all got their behinds facing the driving northeast gale. Why should that be the case? It's really quite interesting. Perhaps their noses work better when they're faced the wrong way. Alrighty, we're going to go all the way back up to the north of the reserve now, to the forested areas around Chitwa, where Jamie is still trying to find, was it something casqued hornbill?
That is exactly what I'm trying to find. I know where it is. It is in this fig tree, and I suspect this is where they've been nesting, because I see them flying out of here so regularly. And now, of course, it's gone completely silent. It's in there, though, because it's been calling and I haven't seen it fly out. So somewhere hidden in the boughs of that tree is the bird I really want to show you. And I got very excited a moment ago because Manu managed to find a bird, but it was in fact a vulture hidden behind the leaves. But in there somewhere is this bird. There's the vulture sitting at the top. It's definitely not the vulture calling. Come on, hornbill. Please. James, the casque on the black and white hornbill serves as an amplifier. So it is a way in which it basically resonates the call that it makes, which is a very loud, very nasal sound. Sound that we've been hearing. That's one of the reasons. There's also some information, interestingly enough, that hornbills can thermoregulate through their bills, which is something that I didn't know, but something that I learned relatively recently on Djuma. So there's two functions there, obviously to help it keep cool. Is that it? There. It's actually really hard to miss. It's a huge hornbill. It's about double the size of a grey hornbill. Today is not my day. yes, Fuzzman Sparkles, you were asking about whether we could list the hornbills that we've seen in the Mara, that I've seen in the Mara. I have seen, or at least in Kenya, I'll add to that list from outside of it as well, because it's not just the ones I've seen in the Mara. I have seen the red-billed, I have seen the grey, I have seen the crowned hornbill, I have seen the black and white casqued, I've seen the southern ground hornbill, I've seen the silvery cheeked hornbill on the coast, and that's it. I think I haven't seen some of the other ones. There's still more to add to my list. There's the Hemplix hornbill that I haven't seen, so there's a few more to add to my list. I'm rummaging around in this car to see if there's a bird book, but there isn't. Oh, hornbills, why must you taunt me so? Do you have a nest here? Now my eyes are seeing it everywhere. Can we check lower down there, Manu? They're sort of towards the split in the trunk. What's that over there? That's a branch, isn't it? Aww. Okay. Well, this hornbill's been taunting me for the last 5 months. I wonder what exactly is taunting Steph across all the way in Djuma.
Good question is what haunts me the most. What you've been talking about is Jamie at the moment. I don't know. Decrepitude, I suppose. Disease that eats me, and like a disease like Ebola or leprosy, that haunts me. What haunts me out here in the bush, not much. This is a very peaceful place to be. Doesn't matter, and doesn't cease to amaze me how you can have the most difficult day. It can be, it's whatever, you know, we all have it. We all have those days where it just seems like the universe is heavy. But you come out for a walk or you go out for a drive, it blows away all those bad things and you come back feeling so energized. It doesn't matter what you see or what you're looking for. It's amazing. So nothing much haunts me in the bush. Sometimes you want to find something, or you're frustrated tracking something you can't find, but if you just let go and let this wash through you, it takes away all that negative stuff. There's too much going on here to get totally fixated on any one thing. Talking about getting fixated on one thing, I think this was where that young lion died of white muscle disease last winter, around about this time. So for those of you who didn't know what this is, because of the drought, the nutrients that in particular the buffalo were getting from the grass that they were eating was so poor that their meat quality was poor, and because their meat quality was poor, lions that were eating the meat, milk production was lacking in certain vital minerals, and their cubs who were their unweaned cubs were dying from a disease called white muscle disease, which causes a paralysis and eventually death from dehydration or starvation. And we had a good few cubs die, and the first cub that died here. Now I'm looking for where it died, because it would be interesting to see it died there. So it would be interesting to see the scrub hare that jumped out of the bushes over here, and as you can see, gains a significant raise of the hairs on your arms. Them and Franklin can elicit an adrenaline injection into your brain that is only topped by leopard and lion. So that lion died here, and I'm wondering if we're going to be able to find its remains. It'll be interesting to see what's left. And I'm saying that because lion carcasses decay incredibly quickly, and it's because lions have the type of bacteria in their guts which obviously decay flesh as quickly as possible so that they can absorb it, and so lions consume themselves very quickly, and it's very rare to find lion remains out here in the bush, to be honest. I wonder if So I'm busy looking here, there. It was a year ago now, and obviously to try and picture where it was, we arrived from that side walking through these bushes. It died here. I remember coming through here and being assailed by flies, and that youngster was lying just here. Now, many things will pick up bones, and in particular bones of predators, and carry them around. In particular, baboons will do that. I think it's just fear, and they pick it up and they move it from place to place. I almost thought that this would be it. You can see something was lying down here, and you can see the grass is slightly discolored, and that is because the nutrients from a decaying carcass would feed the soil underneath it, and sometimes you get a flush of green growth or different plants coming out of it. I don't see any bones, have you? Do you? I don't see any bones here, in actual fact. This caught my eye, but this is a piece of snail shell rather than a bone. There's a bone there, but that looks too big. Yeah, that bone there is too big for a lion. So it does look like this young carcass was taken away. That's bizarre. I'm sure it'll come out, perhaps pulled underneath here by a porcupine or a honey badger or a hyena picked up the carcass and moved it away, and we'll find it under one of these bushes. Anyway, from Viam and myself and Herbie, we just want to say thank you for joining us on the bushwalk today. You're off to the Mara and Scott to close the show.
Well, we've lost that lioness. She did move off into the thickets where we couldn't follow her, but isn't this just a wonderful scene? Quite a few little youngsters in this herd, and they are taking their time this morning, just on the go slow, possibly also heading towards the Mara River for a drink and getting a few snacks along the way. Beautiful. Ooh, there's one that's about to pop into the screen, this one here. Hello, Tina. You would like to know when young baby elephants will start getting weaned off their milk and also start eating grass and bushes. Well, from a young age, I'd say about 4 months of age, they will start nibbling on grass and leaves. It's tricky for them to get it into their mouths because their trunks take quite some time to get the hang of. But they will definitely be adding a little bit of vegetable matter to their mainly milk diet at around 3 to 4 months of age, and then they'll be weaned off anywhere from a year to a year and a half, but it does depend on the individuals. No different to humans, I guess. A few months give or take. These individuals, I'm guessing, are probably approaching a year of age. Judging from their size, it's difficult to be certain, but all three of them are roughly, I'd say, around a year, maybe just slightly older. They're such calming animals to be around, I find, the way they move so slowly and peacefully. Hello, Melissa, you'd like to know if elephants' toenails are kind of like our fingernails or more like foot pads. And no, they are like our fingernails. It's going to be difficult to see them in this long grass, but let me see if I can reposition quickly. Sorry, to get us ahead of them, because they're about to cross a road where we'll definitely be able to see their toenails because of the lack of grass. Even the area they're in now might be okay. There's a bit of short grass. We'll be able to show you exactly what they look like. Okay, let's stop here. Maybe these ones on our left are going to be our best option. There's one on the left of the termite mound that looks to be posing perfectly. There we go. Ta-da! Wonderful. Well, there we have it. So that answers your question, I believe. And thanks for sending that through. If any of you would also like to get your questions answered, it's very easy. You just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. She's got very nice ivory, this lady. I've noticed quite a few of the cows up here in East Africa do have quite impressive large tusks. Phew, there's a whole bunch of tusks for you to take a look at. Okay, well, we are going to be saying goodbye to you guys until the next safari, but it's not over just yet. We are going to be sending you across to James now, who has some elephants having a snack.
Well, a snack, yes. I'm not sure I'd describe eating grass as a snack. It's kind of a mundane daily occurrence for these elephants. They have to do it all the time, and I wonder often if they find it pleasurable or if it's just kind of their job, eating flat out. I know a few people who eat flat out. One of them, of course, was Connor, who used to work with us. He was our drone pilot and engineer, and he ate as much as an elephant and tended to take very little pleasure from it. In fact, he'd then lie on his bed, feeling very full and bloated, which brings me back to the state that I was in last night when I lay down on my bed, feeling full and bloated after the pizzas that had been made by Rebecca. That has nothing to do with the badness of the pizzas. They were very good. It has everything to do with the badness of my digestive system. Anyway, I don't think that these elephants are going to feel anything like as rotten as I did, and that's because, of course, they were designed to eat what they're eating. I and most humans were not designed to eat pizza. Craig, how did you feel today? Absolutely fine, I suppose. Grand, did you? Good. You heard that, did you, from Craig? Batman apparently is designed to eat pizza. Well done, Batman. You must have Italian roots. I didn't know that about Batman. Anyway, we continue to look around for our cheetah. Haven't seemed to find him. I don't think anyone else has found him either. So we might make our way home for breakfast, rather. And that will be a delight. It'll probably be quiche, I imagine. Keeping the theme of food up. And no, it will not be breakfast pizza, Rebecca. I will not be having anything like that. Perfectly sort of peaceful day, but for the driving wind that, well, it's not so driving when you're not moving. Are you clicking at me, Craig? Craig was clicking. He was going. Means that he's bringing the camera around to my face, and so I should turn and face you and greet you. Now, we have about 40 seconds left of this drive, which means that I'm going to say thank you very much to you all for joining us. And what I'm going to do also is tell you that we will be live again, of course, today at 15:30 Central African Time and 16:30 East African time. You can all join us again. We will probably be knocking about the other side of the river, at least 2 of us anyway, and Scott and I this side. So thank you very much for joining us. A big thank you also to the Djuma team. We will see you at the times I've just mentioned later on today. Bye-bye.